Part of our Panama Canal cruise was visiting certain cities on South America's west coast, and one of our cruise stops was Manta, Ecuador. We had a jam-packed day to see the major highlights of the city, so let's get started on our tour. Manta is Ecuador's self-proclaimed finest port city. The cruise ship anchored at a working industrial dock, so passengers had to be shuttled from the ship to the terminal and back. Our 6-hour tour started with a panoramic drive along the Malecón, an oceanfront road with lush greenery and beachfronts. We also drove through many typical city streets and Newtown, a residential area that's home to wealthy Ecuadorian exporters and industrialists. Our first stop was the Pacoche Lodge and Reserve, where we were also able to explore the reserve's 20 hectares of nature that featured monkeys, birds, and plantain trees. We also learned how to cook bologna de verde there. That's a typical dish from the Ecuadorian coast. Each table was given the ingredients to make the snack: plantains, spices, butter, and cheese, along with cooking tools, a knife, a masher, and plastic gloves, so we could cook along with the chef. We mashed the plantain, added the butter and spices, rolled the dough into the ball, and then put cheese inside. The dough ball was then cooked in oil. We didn't do that part. And once cooked, we were ready to sample this beautiful treat. Our second stop was the tagua button factory. The tagua palm nut, often called vegetable ivory, is found only in Colombia and Ecuador. The nut is peeled, cut, and made into buttons, sculptures, and souvenirs. There were lots of tagua palm nuts drying in the sun. Here you see the workers filling the machine with dried tagua nuts so that the shell can be removed. In its raw state, the tagua palm seed is roughly the size of an egg. Our guide noted that the nut can be eaten when fresh and tastes like coconut, but I'm not sure I would try it. The nut is soft and workable when first processed, but it later becomes as hard as ivory. Here, our artisan shapes the sculpture and then uses the small drill to make the finishing touches. So, what could it be? It's the beginning of a tagua nut ivory turtle. We couldn't resist bringing home some souvenirs: a tagua nut, dolphin, pelican, turtle, and an engraved keychain. Our last stop was a short drive to a ranch where the Montañas, people from Manta, show you the steps to create a fine Panama hat. The town of Montecristi pays tribute to its heritage with this larger-than-life statue of a woman weaving a hat in one of its town squares. Panama hats are produced in Ecuador. However, Teddy Roosevelt made the name famous when he wore one at the Panama Canal site, and the newspapers later published "The President and His Panama Hat," and the name stuck. The hat making process starts with gathering the fibers from the leaf shoots of the tagua palm plant. The edges are peeled away to leave only the whitest part of the leaf, and that's what we will use to make the hat. Next, the fibers are boiled in water for 3 to 5 minutes to soften the leaves. Then the leaf fibers are dried overnight. In the upper left, you'll see the newly boiled leaves. On the bottom left and in the middle, we are comparing the unbleached or wet leaves with those that have been dried and bleached overnight. Once the leaves are bleached and softened, the fibers are split into threads, as you can see on the right-hand side. Now the hard work begins as the hat is formed row by painstaking row. The ladies' bent over standing position allows them to see the pattern they are weaving from the top. Isn't that artistry amazing? This hat weaving skill is a dying art since there are only now about 20 weavers. And the finer the hat, the longer the weaving process takes. For example, a super fine or top quality hat can take up to 3 months to weave. Once the weaving is done, the hat is shaped and softened using this mallet. The hat is even ironed. You'll notice that the hats still have loose ends, and those will need to be trimmed. The traditional black band is added and the hat is completed. We also learned how to roll a Panama hat. If you purchase one, you can take it home in its little balsa wood box. If you get a super fino hat, when it's rolled up, it will fit through an average-sized wedding ring. We then had some free time to browse the Panama Hat Factory, enjoy a quick drink, and then we headed back through town to get to the ship. Seeing all these boats means Manta is definitely a fishing village. The mainstay of its economy is tuna, both fishing and the processing and canning of the catch. I also want to include some other sightseeing options if you don't select the cruise ship excursion. There is the Museo Centro Cultural Manta, the El Malecon or Boardwalk, the cities of Monte Cristo and El Carino for you to consider, along with some sound bites for each one of those options. Prior to us arriving in Manta, our cruise director did a port talk that provided us with lots of good information. Key themes included safety tips, transportation options, language, currency, and country highlights that I've shown here. My key takeaways when visiting Manta were: keep your backpacks in front of you and stay aware of your surroundings because of the country's heightened security status. And because Ecuador crosses the equator, its climate is sunny and hot, so you'll need to use sunscreen and perhaps some bug repellent. We really liked sightseeing in Manta. We were able to see some of the best highlights of the city and its surrounding areas. It was truly an enjoyable day and one of our favorite excursions. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, consider subscribing to the channel. I really do appreciate it.